Kasey, when you have to explain to people how you and I are related, what do you say?
Oh, oof. That's a fun one. I think you're my step brother-in-law,
I think
right?
you're right.
Okay, cool. It's fun to say because it's so many words.
I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
also very modern. Like how many
Yes.
people have like a step for you, you're my step sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And you probably say like, oh, it's Dayla's husband or like my stepsister's
That's
husband. And
husband.
it's like a
Yeah.
little easier.
Yeah. It's easier to explain to people. Yeah, my stepsister's husband. Yeah.
I get a kick out
But
of
you're
it.
more than that. You're more than that. You're my stepbrother-in-law.
Coming from an only child where it's just a family of three, I am so stoked about all the people that
Oh,
are in your and Dayla's family.
yeah.
Cool.
Now you have like how many siblings? 7?
So Dayla's side of the family, she is one of 10, and you're one of the 10.
Holy shit.
Yeah, because it's you, your sibling, so it's 3, and
Oh,
then
yeah, her step. Oh my
yeah,
God, that's so many people.
and then there's 3 more on the other side,
Yeah.
and a half brother who's out there too.
Oh shit. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think it's so cool when
Oh,
I
it's
get to tell
great.
people, I'm like, yeah, my stepsister-in-law is an actress in Hollywood. Also, saying the stepsister-in-law, it, in my opinion, like begs another question because you're doing it in your head
Yeah.
and it could be
Yeah.
so many. So it's like, oh, were you guys related or did you like marry into this? There's so many questions.
Yeah. There's so many different ways it could go. It's fun.
I
Very
love
fun.
it. Well, I was super excited to have you on today, Kasey. One, because we're now related, but you're also a homie. You've been a client in DLDNation, and we are on this nice hot streak of having clients on to talk about what it's like being in DLD. And you are a working actress in Hollywood. I know you and I were talking about before hitting record. You're like, I kind of have these other projects I'm getting into. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I grew up in Los Angeles, and what people I think miss, and I'd love your take on this, is it's a job. Like people see Leonardo DiCaprio on, who I know you've met, on film, and they're like, oh my God, you know, TV star, movie star. But the real people that make the industry go are people like yourself who have recurring roles, do modeling gigs, things of that nature. So have you sort of come to that same definition yourself of a working actor, actress in Hollywood?
I was just about to thank you for calling me a working actor because that's a big compliment. I it's weird. I'm struggling with it right now, but I think working actor has to be something that like each person define, like success. Like you have to define your own version of success in the city because it'll drive you crazy if the only thing you picture as success is like working all the time, because no one works all of the time. Like you are always going to get rejected. Even like the top A-listers don't book every single movie, obviously, otherwise that would be boring. But yeah, I think it's just for me personally, I just went through this rut where I'm like, I'm not doing anything, I'm not acting, so I don't feel like I'm like making a difference in the world, and like what is my purpose, and like acting's all I want to do. But like I don't have famous parents who are actors, and B, like I'm not super rich, so I can't just like make something out of thin air. So I am right now just like creating my own content, like not like TikToks, but like I'm writing a sketch show with my friend right now because I'm like, I want to be doing this. I want to dig more into comedy. But it's like, instead of waiting for people to just cast me and being told no, 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 because I'm not going to be a yes for everyone, I'm kind of creating that for myself and putting myself in things. And that's like what I hear over and over again in the city is like, you need to create your own stuff, write your own stuff, put yourself in it. And like, it's weird with this day and age too, because it's like a lot of people who are famous on TikTok will get more opportunities than me, who've like studied acting for years and like blood, sweat, and tears. Like, this is all I want, versus someone who's just like, oh, I just do it for fun. And like, but they have a huge following, so they do it. So it's like a really hard thing to navigate, but I'm just trying to like keep on my path and just like do what I love. And yeah, what was the question?
I think, Kasey, as I was hearing you talk, what was coming up for me and for those listening is, was Kasey's answer different than anybody else in the world? What I heard you say is, sometimes I doubt my path. Sometimes I want to make more of an impact than I am. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm not confident And that's the life of a human, I think. Also speaking to how social media stars, influencers are now parlaying that into careers and entertainment. I would argue that yes, we've seen like the Paul brothers do it to the nth degree, but they're going out and making it happen. I
Yeah.
think a lot of what you're talking about is hustling, and that could be in different forms, ways, shapes, and forms.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I think is cool and what I really enjoy about our interactions is you are now living in a world that I grew up in. And as somebody who grew up going to Palisades High School, having Palisades High School down the street, and like, if you haven't, people listening, give Palisades High School a Google and then do the laundry list of scrolls of how many famous people have gone to that high school. The reason why I bring it up is that was always in our lives of, oh, you can do this, you can be in entertainment, but ... how does one do that? And growing up, we always looked to the Matt Damons and Ben Afflecks. We looked to the Vince Vaughns of the world who created their own adventure. And like, to your point, Kasey, wrote their own stuff and then acted in it as well and created that. Or there's the person, and I'm sure you know those people, who are constantly going on auditions. Because the thing that people miss, I think, about acting in Hollywood is it's really going on job interviews like over and over and over again.
Absolutely. Like multiple times a week and getting rejected from every single one of those all the time. It beats down on you.
So how do you deal with that? Do you have like tools at your disposal? Because and like you're being nice, but people can find you on different shows. They've probably seen you in commercials. They may have seen you in print ads. And so I know you were poo-pooing like, oh, it's nice you call me a working actress, but like you are, like, you get gigs. We talk about it all the time in the family. And so what has helped you push past that rejection? What's helped you thrive over the person who's never had this experience?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in this town for like over 6 years now, which is still like considered a baby because they say it takes 10 years to make an overnight success. So I still have a few years to go. But it's crazy though, because like I don't consider myself a working actor, but you guys do. But that's just like a mental thing I need to work on. But like how I get through and over rejection is like I set an intention for each audition, and like after I do the audition, it's like so hard, but I have to just let it go, like forget about it, not worry about them coming back. I have to make myself proud. Did I like that audition? Am I getting better? Staying in classes, having a community to like complain about your problems to other people who are in your exact same position, I think is like really important because you can relate a lot and you don't feel as crazy. But yeah, just staying consistent and just like doing better work and doing it like for yourself, because it's a 1% chance you're going to book the lead of this huge Sony picture. But like a win for me is like if the casting director likes me, if I get called back. I had my first producer session for a series regular a few weeks ago, which is huge, especially for me, because like I've never done that before. So it's like, okay, that's a step in the right direction. And like, of course I wanted to book it. That would be life-changing, but I have to take that as a win. And like, I went out and celebrated. Like I went and did mini golf and I went to lunch at my favorite place, because like, that's a huge win. It's like winning the room, winning the casting director. Because I can't count my bookings only as wins, because then that would just like destroy me, because that happens like not that often. I don't know, you know? So It's just celebrating the little things, and having a community is definitely important for that.
Do you realize how profound your answer was and how you're hitting on like a ton of things that we talk about on the show a lot?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah. It's definitely relatable to like all areas in life.
Totally.
Yeah, it's just a different industry.
Well, and you're breaking down the blueprint, I think, for anybody to see success. And like you said, define success how they want to see it, but also continue to move through life and not feel bogged down. And what I was hearing you say is the main thing is you're doing it for yourself. And that's what we need to do in life, whether it's acting or working in construction or hosting a podcast, is doing it for yourself, doing it to hopefully make an impact on others, celebrating the little wins. I completely agree with you. Like, for those listening, there's a whole process in getting cast in a part, and to get to a producer session, to get to a network session, those are big deals. It goes from literally everybody to like Kasey and 3 or 4 other people. And so to get to that section, and 6 years in, like, okay, cool, I'm still making progress. So I love that, like defining success differently or defining success individually. And then community, that's a big one. Obviously that's one in DLDNation that we want to highlight, is having people who are also going through the same thing. There's a great quote that I love. You may have heard this one. It's what's most personal is most universal. And we oftentimes think that the shit that we're going through is our own to bear, but then you share it with someone, and it's like, oh man, I didn't get this role. And you have all these friends that are like, oh yeah, like I went out on audition, and just shit the room and it's okay. So you sort of need that community in the same way to celebrate it. And that's why I love you said you want to celebrate those wins, go out to eat, hype it up with your friends. What's your favorite restaurant in LA? You said you went to your favorite for lunch.
Right now for lunch is this place called Great Whites in Larchmont Village, and I can walk there. It's super expensive, but it's a super cute like Australian cafe. And so I just wanted a good excuse to eat there. So I did.
It's a good excuse. I don't know if I've ever asked you this. How did you get into acting? Like, how did you find yourself in Los Angeles?
Oof. So after high school, I tried college for a few months and I was like, nope, not for me. And then I came back and like focused. I was like, I want to model. So long story short, I started modeling. And
I totally fucked this up too, by the way, for people listening. I was joking with Kasey that I was like, oh my God, I hate those questions that are like, tell me your story. And then here I am like, how'd you get into acting?
You literally did. You're like, tell me your acting story. I'm making it long, but basically like I was modeling. I've always loved acting ever since I saw Spy Kids 2. I was like, oh my God, I love Spy Kids. I want to meet Spy Kids.
Shout out to Daryl Sabara.
Yeah, it's so good.
He was so real quick, Daryl Sabara,
yeah.
he was the boy in Spy Kids.
Okay. And yeah, the redhead.
Correct. And then when I was working at UTA, United Talent Agency, my boss repped him, and he was maybe like 21 or 22. And he was the nicest guy. He hit me up once and he was like, hey bro, like, are you in the office today? And I'm like, yes, I'm on the phone. What's up? Like, what can I help you with, Daryl? And he was like, oh, I want to stop by. And my boss, Jacob, wasn't in. I was like, hey, sorry, Jacob's not in. He was like, no, I want to see you. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, man, like, I just appreciate all the work you do. Like, I want to dap you up and like give you something. I was like, oh, cool. And so he came by and like dapped me up and hung out for like 10, 20 minutes. And he was like, okay, cool.
What does dap me up mean?
I am surprised, but I'm surprised you don't know this, but it is good for me.
Cool.
It is good for me to define it for listeners. So it's, the bro hug where you do this whole thing.
Oh yeah. Like the pat on the back, like the.
Yeah. Yeah. So DAP, DAP is like respect. And so if like you get a great role and you come home to Adam and he gives you a fist pump, he's dapping you up.
Okay.
We all go to a family event and like you and Tommy win some family event that we're doing and you guys fist pump or you're dapping each other up.
Okay. Got it. Like a hype kind of.
Yeah. Like a high five. Like I'm giving you respect. I recognize what you're doing.
Love that.
Yeah. So Spy Kids 2, that pushed you into, I think I could act.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know, movies make me feel a certain way and I love it. But anyway, so I started modeling because I had the opportunity to, and I was young and I was like, I have to do this while I can. And while I was like super skinny, which is a good segue into the whole fitness thing. But after I lived in Korea and Mexico and Milan and New York and Australia and India and then Dallas, I moved to LA. And I was just like done with the modeling industry. It like fucked me up mentally, emotionally, physically, everything. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I want to like chase my actual dreams. Like it wasn't fulfilling me. And I was like, I need to act. There's just something in me that I need to act. Never been to LA before, packed up my car and I drove there with my dad. And I met my friend who flew in from Germany. She's like, I want to act too. So we're like, let's go to LA. And we like crashed on some random dude's couch for 2 weeks. I don't recommend this. Crashed on some random dude's couch for 2 weeks until we like lived in a model apartment. And then I just started taking acting classes and just kind of figured out my way ever since.
That is the LA story. And as somebody who was born and raised there, that's what we heard about when people came. We're like, what brought you here? And it's that same story, which is, I think, true. Austin's starting to become that city where people from smaller towns come and they're like, I want to make it in a big city, whatever that looks and feels like to people.
Like they didn't belong where they were. And they're like, someone said this the other day, they're like, imagine a map and you're like shaking the map and all the loose pins fall into LA. Like that's what LA is. It's like everyone who felt like they didn't belong comes here.
That's from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that.
He's from New York and he goes to LA and he says, I feel like somebody shake the map and all of the normal people were able to hold on and the weirdos ended up in LA.
Oh my God. Someone quoted that and didn't even,
But that's also LA. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You got to check out that movie. People listening too. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. RDJ, Val Kilmer. It's fantastic.
Check it out.
It's also very LA because
Mm.
he first, I'm not going to ruin the movie, but he first gets there and says like what he's really doing. And he goes to a party and they're like, what do you do? Which is the LA question that you get 10 seconds after meeting somebody, 5 seconds after meeting somebody. And then he tries different ones. And so then he tries a different one and they still walk away. And then finally he's like, yeah, I'm a director. And they're like, oh, really? Tell me more. And
My
he just has to
God,
like make up this story.
for you. That's hilarious.
So, but I would say it's worked out and it is working out. And so can you give us kind of a smattering of your credits and where people can find you?
Yeah, I filmed my first movie for Hallmark during the pandemic. So you can find that on hallmark.com or their app.
I'm sure they have a streaming. They probably have a streaming
Hallmark
service.
Now, I think is what it's called. Ooh.
What's the name of the movie?
Oh yeah, you probably need to know that. It's called Save the Wedding.
That was good.
I should know this because I'm the lead, but yeah. You can
See, this is what
me.
happens. This is the definition of a working actress in Hollywood, Kasey. You don't remember any of your credits.
Like, oh, what was it called again? And then I'm also in a sketch show that Adam created called The Movie Show, and you can find that on Sci-Fi's website and their streaming app. And yeah, you can just follow on my Instagram at Kasey.Landoll, and that's like, I'll post things there if I book again. Oh,
That's
and I have
awesome.
a Lexus commercial coming out soon. It's my first SAG National, so you'll probably see me on your TV.
SAG National, Screen Actors Guild, for everybody wondering. That's a big deal.
Hell yeah. Very
Residuals.
excited.
Residuals,
Mhm.
baby.
Yep. My first time getting residuals, actually. Yeah.
So I would say from what you've said, you continue to build momentum. You're getting producer sessions. You already talked about community, doing it for yourself, et cetera. Do you have, in addition to fitness type things, do you have like routines, things that sort of get you into being your best self and be able to sort of move through the second largest city in the country?
Yeah, absolutely. I recently started incorporating my morning routine. I wake up and I'll do my morning pages, which is just like a stream of consciousness. I'll just do one page just to clear my mind. And then I have to go on a walk in the morning. 10 minutes, whatever. I have to be outside. Usually it's always sunny in California, so I don't have a problem with that, but I just need it. It starts my day. It feels amazing. And then I usually I'll eat something and then go to the gym. And that's like a non-negotiable that I need to do that at least a few times a week. Otherwise I don't feel normal.
That's interesting.
So that's like, yeah, that's my routine that keeps me sane.
So using that as a nice segue, and I appreciate you giving a little bit of background, a little bit of insight into your routine. The training piece, and you said you have to go to the gym, you have to be consistent with that at least a few times every week. Were you doing that before signing up with DLDNation?
So my journey with before DLD, I was very lost and very confused because my entire, I guess more than adulthood, ever since I was 16, when I like started like thinking about modeling, I was always told to never eat over 1,000 calories. I was 5'11". Stay away from protein because I don't want to gain muscle because that'll contribute to my measurements and make them bigger. And only eat vegetables and walk for an hour a day, do hot yoga twice a day, just do like cardio. The heaviest weight you can lift is like 3 pounds, maybe 5. So sure, when I was like 18 and traveling the world, like, and eating very little, like I was thin, but like I was by no means healthy. I was also a teenager, so I was naturally thin anyways. And as I got older and like I had hips, like I'm a woman, I'm 22, like I had curves that were just like my bones, doing the same thing, doing just cardio, eating only vegetables. Like it's not sustainable. I didn't follow that the whole time. I had like an eating disorder. I still have body dysmorphia. I would binge and then I would starve myself, like such an unhealthy mindset. And I just felt like when I moved to LA too, there's like so much pressure. There's so much pressure already, but especially in LA, and you're surrounded by the most beautiful people in the world. And it's just like, it's so crazy. I'm trying to think like how my mindset was, but it was just like, yeah, I would just basically do cardio and I just wouldn't see any difference. And I always yeah, it just wasn't sustainable and it wasn't healthy. And I felt very lost and I just didn't know that my body could ever change or be healthier or look different. And I thought this is just who I am. And like kind of let myself go for a little bit because I was just so depressed and like frustrated. And then I was like, I need to make a change. And then you guys came into my life, which was amazing. Yeah.
I want to hop in here because your story, I don't think is unique to you. I mean, we know it isn't, right? Because so many, unfortunately, I mean, we get no education. And so man, woman, child, we don't know how to eat. Like you said, you don't know how to work out. Is this going to make me fat type of thing? But I was also thinking those things. Like I didn't know. I'm a huge fan of the scones at Starbucks. And before I found Jesus, and I say that jokingly, as far as like fitness and how to actually eat, I thought if I had a scone, like, oh man, that'll make me fat. And even looking back at my career in athletics and swimming in college, like they just told us to eat. They were like, you're burning a ton of calories, go eat. And so as a 19-year-old kid, I'm like, dope, I'm going to have like 2 cheesesteaks and smash this bowl of ice cream at the dining hall. And so it's also like you're talking about the whole 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, what I jokingly refer to as the ice cube and Tic Tac diet is what mainly women are sold to be fit and be skinny, quote unquote. And then I agree with you in Los Angeles. Like it was even as a kid, it's challenging. Like I felt like I always had to be on point. Like I have a friend who's in finance, who's in LA, and he is not about the scene at all. And he's just like, bro, I want to go outside in sweats. And he was like, I feel like I can't just like wake up.
Oh my God, I feel that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So really cool that your sister-in-law and your stepsister and step brother-in-law started a company, all that fun stuff. And so what sort of motivated you to I mean, I guess you said that like you were going through these challenges, things that everybody faces. And then you saw us and you're like, oh, they must know what they're doing. They have answers. And so was that a part of why you signed up with us? And then also, did you have some trepidation of like, oh God, like, is this gonna like completely change my physique?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Honestly, what helped me, my boyfriend at the time, he's very into fitness, as you know. And he was very into like counting his macros and lifting weights. And he was always like encouraging me, like, you should lift weights, you should lift weights. Cause I'd always be complaining about like my size. I'm like, I want to lose weight. And then he'd see me doing like stupid cardio things. And he's just like, well, you can't do just cardio. Like you have to lift weights so you can like build muscle. And I'm like, no, like I can't build muscle. Like that's scary. I don't want to bulk up. I don't want to be huge. And like, you know, you hear that all the time from women of just like, I don't want to lift weights because I don't want to be big. And you guys do very well debunking that myth of just like,
I wish it was the case, Kasey. Like I wish I could just look at a dumbbell and like balloon up.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, guys try so hard to do that. They can't. What makes me think, yeah. And so, yeah, that was definitely something I was like nervous about. Also, the whole macro thing scared the shit out of me. And I was like, what the fuck's a macro? What do I have to count this? I have to track the fat. And like, I was not used to that. I was just used to tracking my calories of like, cool, I know how many calories an Oreo is in. I can eat 2 of these and then, you know, but like, so it was very scary at first because it was just like new. It was a learning curve. Like I didn't know what exactly to do, but with the help of you guys and my fitness pal and like just like you guys showing me how to do it, and also like my boyfriend at the time showing me how to do everything, like it was like a lot easier to transition into because I had like that community of like, here, let me show you how to do this. And like I was terrified of weights. I had no idea what I was doing, but you guys have videos on your apps, which is like I still watch every single workout just to make sure my foot was right. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got started into it.
It never ends.
I think the challenge was the first thing I did with you guys.
I think you're right.
Yeah. And I toned up real quick and I was like, holy shit. Okay. I guess I believe them. I guess I could do this. And then I signed up for coaching.
It never ends either. Like there are times where Dale and I are at the gym and we'll have the other person film of just like, hey, like it feels weird. Like, do you mind if you film this real quick? Make sure I'm doing it right. Or we'll have each other sort of look at like a deadlift and be like, how am I doing in this one? And so it's kind of like the self-tapes for acting. Like if you're auditioning for a role that you can't go in for, or you can't like physically go in, or they're just be like, hey, everybody send tapes. you probably do a few different takes, right? And so you film yourself and you're like, oh, I didn't like how I did this. Let me change that. And then you have that finished product. I like how you brought up the videos that we can look at and be like, oh, let me match that up to how I'm doing. You could have Adam or a friend take a video and it's like, oh, okay, cool. And we get that additional information. I also, yes, I think it was a challenge. And I'm happy you mentioned that because I'm pretty sure we're bringing challenges back.
I saw that on y'all's Instagram and I was really excited because the challenges, okay, obviously coaching is very motivating. And that's like one of my favorite things is that like I have a person that holds me accountable every week. But the challenges are something else because I don't know if it was the winner gets $300 and I was like, oh, I need that $300, but or if it's like my competitiveness coming out on me, but it's just like it's a very motivational thing that you guys do. So I might compete in that.
Yes, we would love to have you back. Thank you for the cosign on that. So it sounds like, and we were hitting a community again. You had coaches to help keep you accountable. You had other people in your life who could help out. MyFitnessPal, which is the free macro tracking app. What were some other tips, tricks, hacks, strategies that helped you out when you were first starting out? Because that's a big jump to go from, man, I don't know, to then, okay, I'm going to trust the process, which is something we preach. And so I'm curious, what else helped you see so much success, which we'll get into here in a moment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, water, like I think that's really important. I was already drinking 3 liters a day because I was used to that. So like making the jump to a gallon a day wasn't hard. And like, I always have my emotional support water bottle with me everywhere.
Kasey's holding up her big water bottle. How much does that hold?
This is a half gallon. I've been through so many water bottles and it's easier for me just to have half gallon because I can just throw it in my bag or my purse, or like it's, if I'm going on walks, it's like less heavy to carry around and I just fill it up twice a day.
That's another major key. Real quick on that point for anybody listening, get a bigger water bottle. Like I have a 40-ounce one. So that one works for me. The one that Kasey was holding up, that's half a gallon, which is 64 ounces. That one has a handle and it also is clear. So you can see how much you're taking down. And I would recommend too, yeah, Kasey has a straw.
Help a lot.
Yeah. So for people who find it hard drinking from an open container, definitely try a straw.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll just like hold my water bottle and just like my instinct is just to drink it just because it has a straw. And it's just so much easier. You can like zone out watching TV while drinking water. You're like, oh, I just hit my water. Great. But yeah, so I would bring my water bottle everywhere. Like you mentioned, like on set, I bring my water absolutely everywhere. And on set, I had a gallon bottle at the time because I can't really fill up my water bottle on set because you're just kind of stuck in a room for 12 hours. And so I would actually I got the nickname of Water Bottle Girl. A producer someone was talking, the director was like talking about me and was like, oh yeah, Kasey. And one of the producers is like, oh yeah, the girl with the water, like that girl drinks a lot of water. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with like being known for the girl who drinks a lot of water. I feel like if I don't drink a full gallon of water, I feel dehydrated. That's how used to it I am at this point. And it's good. People are so shocked. And I've like convinced a lot of people on set to be like, no, you need this. Like, nice. Get a big water bottle, just drink it. You'll feel so much better.
And so now you have a leg up during heat waves in LA.
Absolutely. And it helps with the skin. It helps with everything. That's great. Yeah.
So big water bottles. What about, you said you had some help with tracking macros. How about going to the gym? Because you said that you were going and just doing kind of cardio and then you're working with us and we're like, hey, Kasey, let's get in the gym like 4 times a week. I know we did some pandemic stuff too, and you had some bands and whatnot at home. Obviously a ton easier when we're getting into the gym. And so what helped you establish that habit and that routine that now fast forward and you're still doing it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my ex worked at like a really fancy gym. So like Equinox. So that was like a really nice perk. And I was like motivated to go there, and he would like show me around. I've never picked up like a barbell before. Like I didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, it's so great. So like, it really helped having him show me the ropes because like, that's all he knew. And like, he's like, do it like this, do it like this. So I kind of had like an on hands personal trainer. We actually got in trouble one time because someone thought he was actually my personal trainer. He's like, no, I'm just showing her how to hold the thing. Like, fuck off. They're very strict there, but it was really nice getting into that habit at a really nice gym and all that. And then the pandemic hit. And then I switched to home workouts, which was really great because you guys also had videos for home workouts, and like, it's easier for people who have like social anxiety or gym anxiety like I did. But now I'm working out a gym again, and it's more motivating for me to be in a gym because everyone else around you is doing things. If I feel like I don't know how a machine works, I just watch the video on the app, and that helps me so much. And I just like to challenge myself to try like a new thing once in a while. I get really nervous in front of people if I'm like squatting, because I'm afraid someone's gonna like come up to me and tell me I'm doing it wrong. Like I'll push myself every once in a while and like you figure it out.
That's nice. I like the challenges too, because I'm noticing a parallel between challenging yourself in your acting career and then also challenging yourself in the gym. And I think those are really cool. I see it all the time. And from what we've noticed coaching thousands of clients, they overcome these challenges in the gym. Like you said, they go in and hit a PR, they're able to push past what they previously thought was their limit. And then they sort of poke their heads up and they're like, where else can I do this? And so I think it's really cool that both your career and your fitness are really mirroring themselves. Also, talking about training at home, I think that's where you made the most like progress, was training at home, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like during the pandemic, I was like very on it because I didn't have anything else to do. So that was like, I wasn't busy because obviously the world was shut down. So that was nice. I just bought like, what do you call it?
The resistance bands, right? Like a ton of bands.
No, but I also bought dumbbells that were like
Adjustable dumbbells.
Yeah. Thank you. Adjustable dumbbells. And I worked out like every day, just like in my room doing the at-home dumbbell workouts. It was great. That was easier, obviously, because I didn't have anything else going on. But
did tracking macros at home, was that easier?
Yeah, especially like not going to restaurants and stuff. So like I really hit my macros every day. Now it's a little bit more relaxed, but I'm okay with that. And I don't feel guilty about it because like you still have to live your life. I'm not going to trap myself inside my house all day just to like, and it's, you get used to it after a while and you know what macros you need to hit and what's in what and like what you can eat and what you should say for the next day.
Have you cultivated that perspective through working in DLDNation or working with us? Hey, it's a lifestyle. I got to live my life from time to time. I'm not going to be hitting my macros 100% of the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, one thing I wrote down here because I was just like, I love this so much, is that like, if I even go over like my macros, if I see a piece of cake and I'm like, I want that cake, I'll have it and I won't feel guilty. And I never thought I could feel that way. Never thought. Always thought no matter what, like I'd always feel a little guilty eating dessert or something carb heavy. But like since counting my macros, like it changed my life. Like you guys changed my life because it was just like relationship with food is so important, especially when it's like programmed into your entire life and your career. So it's really nice having that feeling of like, cool, I'm going to eat the cake. I guess I went over my carbs and fat. I'm not going to lie to my coach. I'm going to tell her like, yeah, I went over my carbs and fat this day. And she's not going to guilt me. She's like, cool. I'm so glad you had cake and you enjoyed it. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm not in trouble. Like, it's such a mind fuck from someone who comes from like disordered eating. And like, it's just, yeah, it's life-changing. It's sustainable. It's changed a lot the way I think about food and like how I feel towards it. I don't feel like I'm restricting anything, so I crave less. I'm like, I could have the cake. I could not. Like, I'm not like
how that
craving.
happens.
It's so crazy. Like, I never thought that. Anytime I'd see any kind of chocolate, I'd be like, but now I'm just like, I don't really feel like chocolate. Never thought I'd say that in my life.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I really appreciate the kind words too. Also, if I'm on my soapbox, I know everybody wants to be jacked and shredded, but I think if someone was on their deathbed and they still had abs, but they were like, I never had a cake, I never had a cookie, like I never drank a sip of alcohol, it'd be like, I feel like you're missing out because we as humans have perfected certain foods over centuries, if not millennia. And then we have cultural traditions. Like I was joking with my parents the other day. For me, like we used to go out and celebrate wins and food was that celebration. And so I have to be aware of that when Dayla and I have successes in our relationship or in business or our personal lives. My immediate is like, dope, I'm going to pick out on food. And so I have to kind of like catch myself. But at the same time, now knowing what I know, same thing, and being able to track macros, it's like, oh, I can have that.
Yeah.
I can also kind of estimate, which I wanted to get into with you in a sec, of like how calorically impactful that could be. And now I'm going to make more informed decisions. So kind of using that as a segue, where you are now, having learned so much, are you able to kind of like guesstimate portion sizes? Are you sort of intuitively eating?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm still counting my macros, so I'm not intuitively eating yet because I don't trust myself. But I do know like what 6 ounces of salmon looks like or 6 ounces of chicken because I measure it every day if I'm home. So it's so nice to have that freedom of like, cool, I'm gonna go out to eat. I usually look at the menu before I go just so I can like pick it out and then I put it in my MyFitnessPal. So that way when I'm at dinner, I know what I'm gonna order. I don't have to track it while I'm there and be on my phone in front of everyone. I don't have to worry about doing it later if I have a glass of wine. I'm too tired to do it. I'm like, I already did it. I can leave it alone and I can have this meal and like and I'm gonna enjoy it. And like if it's like a big pasta dish, like I'll save my carbs for later. It's just it's so smart and it makes so much sense and it's a science and it's math and that's all it is. Like it's not rocket science.
You're such a pro at this, Kasey, and you're dropping so much. Do you want to come host the podcast now?
I would love that. Yeah.
we can add to your gigs. You'd be like, hey guys, I now host a podcast. It's super cool.
Podcasts are so cool. I love podcasts. It's
I
so
do too.
cool that you guys are doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun. I really enjoy connecting with people. You're fantastic on a podcast. And for people listening, Kasey said she'd only done one other podcast before this one, but I think it's such a cool medium. I enjoy meeting people, talking about stuff, and it's really cool to hear what you learned because I know you, me, and Dayla were working together for a little while, and it's fun to hear how that's impacted your life and like where you are now. Like I'm definitely a proud step relative and also proud coach of everything that you've done. And you're hitting, like the reason why I'm saying you're a pro, Kasey, is for a good reason, because you're hitting on so many of these topics that we preach and that we teach. Like, hey, if you eat the cake, you eat the piece of cake, like enjoy it. Like if you show up with your coach and you're like, hey, I had the piece of cake, it was fucking awesome. Like dope. If you had the piece of cake and now you're feeling guilty, then we're going to say like, hey, well, let's work on that. Staying hydrated, making it a game, tracking your macros, making room for the foods. Like I have a book coming out, Hack Your Health. It's probably already out as of whenever this comes out.
You made a book?
I made a book.
You made it. That's the correct terminology. You made it. Oh my God, congrats. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow, we have so many authors in the family.
Dude, your dad makes.
He's an overachiever. He doesn't count.
Yeah. For people listening, Kasey's dad, Doug, he literally wrote the textbook on cybersecurity. But he's really nice. And through my writing process, he would ask me like, hey, how's the book? And like, what are you doing with this? Cause he's so knowledgeable. Right. And it was super cool. But he would then like in a group text to the family say like, hey, you guys can grab my new like anxiety journal. It's out now. And I'm like, God damn it, Doug.
He wrote like 8 random how-to books in the pandemic about like whiskey and anxiety. And I'm like scuba diving. And I'm like, what? Like, how am I your daughter?
Yeah. And I'm working on this book, Kasey, for the better part of like 2 years. And meanwhile, Doug's like, I got a new book. Like, buy my new book. I'm like, oh, dude, like, can you just slow down? I've joked with Dayla, and I think I've joked with Doug that sometimes he needs to slow it down because like the entire family is a group of us. And some people, may feel that a little bit more like, hey, bro, can you take a break?
Yeah. Like save some for the rest of us. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I wrote a book called Hack Your Health. It's going to come out on the 28th. So a little over a week from today.
That's awesome.
You are on my list, by the way, to hit up and be like, hey, would you mind promoting the book? And I can get you a link to buy it, all that good stuff. But it contains a lot of the hacks that we're talking about now. So for instance, the making room in your macros for the fun food that you're going to have later. Like when you want to have a dope pasta dish, that's in the book. Playing the game with ourselves of intuitive eating and, I've tracked 6 ounces of chicken over and over and over again. So let me play this little game with myself and just cut it up and guesstimate, like, I think that's going to be 6 ounces, and then put it on the scale, see how you do. And so that's what I mean by you're a pro. You're hitting on all these different topics that I've literally wrote a book about.
Yeah. That's great. I cannot wait for your book to come out. I think it's going to help so many people who like are scared to jump the gun about like actually getting into coaching and stuff and like reading. So like listen to Sean because he's right. No, but like seriously, it's like everything you're saying and everything I'm saying, I'm not even really, it's like you hear it so many times, but when you actually go through it and like it happens to you and you're like, no, you can eat the cake, just plan for it. It's like, that's a real thing. Like you can do that. It's possible.
So what did you notice the change in your physique from I'm on that, and I say this with love, Ice Cube and Tic Tac diet, afraid to lift weights, to now you're tracking macros consistently, you're training at the gym, you're fucking it up with real weights. What has happened? Because what I'm getting at is basically the fear was I'm going to become a bodybuilding monster by doing these things, but in fact, ... what happened?
Yeah. So obviously I became more toned because I had more muscle. So that was great. And like, I love my arms now. Like there's like a little, I mean, don't look now, but yeah.
No, shout out to the shoulders. No, I'm seeing the shoulder gains.
No,
You got
every
good
time
lighting
I
over
look
there.
my shoulders like this, I see like a
Dude, yeah, do that again.
vein thing.
Do that again.
Like if I'm like,
yeah, shoulder caps. Shoulder caps
like,
right there.
I was like,
Yep.
holy, every time I lift weights like this, I look in the mirror, I was like, oh my God, that's my shoulder. That's so cool. Yeah. But I become more toned. I'm obviously more stronger. Like it feels empowering to be able to like squat. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I was always told never, never, never squat because like that'll build your butt because it'll gain more muscle and like it feels good. Weirdly enough, I love that I get compliments from people about my butt. They're like, oh my God, girl, do you squat? And I'm like, yes, I do. And I was like, I'm so jealous, so jealous. Like, I wish I had your butt. And I'm like, oh, like I was never told that as a model. Like I was always told I was too skinny. I just like, I feel better. I feel healthier. It's more sustainable. I could do this like for the rest of my life. And I'm like, cool. Like I'm about to be 30 and this is my body. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. And like, I can eat practically whatever I want as long as it's in my macros, like, and have a body like this. That's crazy. So it's just like a big like realization of like, there's a healthy way to do this. And like muscle's not scary.
I like that. That's a great quote. Excuse me, muscle's not scary. I was mentioning a friend of mine who's also a client, Chris, who was on the podcast, and he was really hesitant to do nutrition coaching with me. And so he was like, I'm just going to lift. And I kept telling him like, hey man, nutrition's this hack. Like you're going to have so much more knowledge about what you want to eat, what you're eating that may be more impactful, what you're eating that you could eat more of. And he finally took me up on it like a month in, and he lost 40 pounds and we're now bulking. Yeah. He's gained the 40 pounds back, but on purpose. And I put the photos up from where he was to where he is now, and, you know, completely different body type. And then we're going to cut again. He's going to be shredded, but I think what you're getting at, Kasey, is that knowledge helps us for the rest of our lives. So you're like, I'm almost 30 and I'm going to know how to throttle my body going forward. Like if I ever want to gain weight, gain muscle, I know how to do that. If I want to lose weight, I can do that. And having that confidence. You also mentioned the shifting of physiques in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. Are you noticing that? And this is just a personal curiosity, because with the rise of TikTok and social media influencers, a lot of influencers are of the fitness variety, and the body shape is going to be different than the body type is going to be different than what's traditionally in the movies and on TV. So are you starting to see that kind of shift on the ground?
In the movie industry, you mean?
Correct.
I feel like the shift is universal, like with everything, like especially the modeling industry, everything's more a little inclusive and like different body types. So I guess in the acting industry as well, like I booked a lead role looking the way I am. So like there wasn't a problem, you know, like I had one of my co-stars bring weights to set because he like works out all the time too. And I was like, oh, cool. Can I hit some reps? Like,
that's nice.
Great. And he like told me about his meal prep that he does. And it was just like shared knowledge. So it's just like definitely, I love that the world is turning more towards like the healthy bodies versus like the 90s era of heroin chic. And it's just like, no one can sustain that. Like I was that, I lost my period. Like it was so unhealthy. I was losing hair. I was like, I'll probably never be able to have kids because I like fucked up my body so much, like terrible metabolism, all of that. And now it's just like, oh, like I didn't think I could feel this way. And I think other people are realizing that too, especially with TikTok, because TikTok's more like real than Instagram. People are more like unfiltered. And I do see a trend of people being more into the fitness, and it's like makes you live a longer life. Isn't there like science behind that? Yeah. So
yeah, I think there's a couple research articles. It's kind of funny what you said about almost being 30 and being like, and I look like this. And I would have never guessed. Like, I am not going to say it on the podcast because people ask me and I like playing this game, but people are always like, you look younger than you are when they find out how old I am. And my response is always like, oh, like diet and exercise, who knew? You know,
Yeah.
it's like you keep doing this and like your body will sort of keep up. And it's really cool to see that. I think we're going to have, hopefully, our generation continue this, because you look at, and I know they did a ton of steroids with Arnold and like Sylvester Stallone and stuff, but Arnold was on Jake Paul's podcast a while back, and they asked him, like, are you, you know, how long, like, when are you going to stop working out? And he was like, when am I going to stop breathing? When am I going to stop having breakfast? He was like, my point is, like, this is just a part of my life.
Yeah.
And you look at those individuals as they age, and people who pay attention to what they're eating and continue to use their body, and they get into their 70s and 80s, and their bodies look differently than maybe our grandparents, our great grandparents, and what we're used to. And so I'm hoping that that continues to shift. Like, you know this, but there really is a thing of the camera adds like 5 to 10 pounds. It's very weird. And so I've had this conversation with friends in entertainment, and they've maintained that it's going to stay the same because people have to look a certain way in movies and on TV. But I'm maintaining that there's too much of a push from people who are starting to find out what you found out, that they can eat the cake, they can lift the weights and actually be healthier, bring the period back, because that's stuff that people kind of forget.
Yeah. And also, so this is like me, how I normally am. Like, if I booked a role and like my character was like skinny and it was important to the story that I was skinny, like if I was playing that I was a model who was like dealing with an eating disorder, like, cool, I would adjust my macros for that. I'm sure my coach would help me do that in a healthy way and do that for a role, but that doesn't mean I need to be skinny all of the time. And like, that's just my career. That's just like how my job works. Sometimes you have to do things, gain weight for roles, lose weight for roles. But then like, I always want to come back to like how I am now. I am healthy. I'm strong. Like, I like the way I look. It's sustainable. I can basically eat whatever I want as long as it's in my macros, and like, I feel good. And I think that's like what's important.
That is the most important part. Also, totally true of Hollywood. Do you know Matt Damon, when he was in Courage Under Fire, he like really messed up his liver because he wasn't Matt Damon yet. And he was in a supporting role in Courage Under Fire of this former like military vet who had PTSD and got super skinny. And because he was not Matt Damon yet, he apparently just ate one baked potato a day. Right. Kasey's just like shocked. And after the role, he had to be on some liver medication for like 2 years to get back to normal. And then when he did The Martian, they read like, oh, this person's on Mars, they're losing a lot of weight. And the director, Ridley Scott, came to him and was like, hey, given your history, we're just going to CGI this. Like, don't worry about it. Right. Like, don't try to lose any weight. Like, we know your history, so we'll just take care of it in post-production. And I even said, I looked it up after we saw the movie because I'd never seen The Martian. We watched it the other day. And there are scenes of his body. And I told Dale, I was like, that's totally a stand-in. But I think we may find that that's the healthier way to go, especially with the way technology is going in film, that you might not have to lose the weight.
Yep, totally. And hopefully it also mirrors the modeling industry, that now there's like plus sizes in every size in between, and like brands who want that, of just like, cool, that's who you are. I'm going to take like that, and you're going to be the model for this, versus like everyone fit into this one size. Like, that'd be so boring. And like, you see movies, you see plus size people in movies, regularly fit people. Like, what? Like, we're just people. We are the way we are. As long as you're healthy about it, like, you know.
Yeah. Buff Bunny, which is an apparel company run by Heidi Summers, who's big in Instagram and fitness. Dayla's an athlete for them, and they have very much like, if you go look at their roster, it's all shapes and sizes, all colors.
Love that.
Yeah, because not everyone's gonna fit into an extra small. So
Yeah.
I think we're heading in the right direction. I appreciate people like yourself. You're on the ground, Kasey. You're pushing it forward. You're in the field. As we move to the end of the episode, I'm curious, what would you tell somebody who is thinking about joining DLDNation, doesn't know about it? What would you say to them?
I would say just go for it. What do you have to lose? Obviously, you guys have a good track record of people becoming more healthy. You guys are great at guiding people, especially who've like, I'd never lifted a weight before. So like, if I can do it, anybody can. But yeah, just try it. Start off with a challenge. That's what I did. If you're too nervous to go into a gym, use your weights at home. There's so many different ways you can do about it. And I promise you, once you start and once you feel it and you'll feel better, you'll be addicted to it and you won't be able to stop and your life will be changed.
Dude, I need to next time you're out here, we're together. I'm gonna have to get you a gift because I have so many sound bites from this one. Like you hit on everything that I was hoping we would talk about. I just really appreciate you, Kasey, and I'm grateful to hear that Dayla and I have been able to help out and create lasting change because that was our goal. We would love to have clients forever and ever, but we would much prefer to create autonomous humans that, like yourself, know how to track the macros, know how to train, and know that they can do this for the rest of their lives. How can people connect with you? How can they find you outside of the streaming services that you mentioned?
Yeah, except besides the Hallmark app and sci-fi, you can find me on Instagram at kasey.landoll, which is my name, obviously. I post on there when I feel like it, but if I have a big project coming up, I'll post on it. I'm creating a sketch show with my friends, so I'll post on there. And yeah, follow if you want.
Nice. We're going to have that in the show notes. I encourage everybody to follow Kasey because you're going to get an inside peek at what it's like to be a working actress in Hollywood. And then you can also bug her about fitness tips because she is so well versed. You're also going to have to add to that you will soon be hosting a podcast. I'm very sure of it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's make it happen.
There we go. Well, hold on a sec. We're going to still be here after I stop recording. But for those listening, I really appreciate you. This has been yet another episode of Shots to the Dome.